Good day, students. Today, I am going to talk about the upcoming 2.0 rerun units, Destruction Daniel, and our general, Jing Yuan. What is their current pull value? How much have they changed since their release? And what is their place in the current meta? So sit down, open your notebooks, and sharpen your pencils, as today's class is hereby in session. Let's start with Destruction Daniel. While not much has changed for him since his release, apart from the introduction of Hanya, although I would argue it wasn't exactly the partner that he needed, as she didn't quite solve his major issue since her skill point generation is not that consistent. Everything is going to change with the arrival of Sparkle in 2.0. Why is that? Well, because Sparkle is going to solve his major problem, namely skill point consumption. By effectively increasing the skill point cap, just by existing in the team, and by also restoring skill points through her ultimate skill, combined with the ability of her skill to action advance, an ally Sparkle will effectively transform every E0 Imbibitor into an E2-1. And we all know that an E2 Destruction Daniel is the strongest damage dealer in the game at the moment. You can also just imagine if an E0 will get that much of a boost from Sparkle, what an already E2 Daniel is going to do. But even if you are not going for Sparkle, an E0 Imbibitor is still an amazing damage dealer, second only to Jing Liu at the moment, and he will serve you well in all contents of the game. He also works extremely well with the F2P Herta light cone. One important thing to consider is that at the moment and until the end of 2.1, everyone is getting a free doctor ratio, which is also an imaginary hypercarry strong in his own right, so everyone who is low on funds can use him just fine instead of pulling for Daniel. So, being an already amazing unit with access to an amazing free light cone that he can use, and with his tailor-made support coming in the same patch as his rerun, Daniel is for sure a great pickup. If the playstyle of Doctor Ratio is not appealing to you, and if you are willing to invest in Sparkle as well, you will secure yourself an amazing duo that has the potential to be the highest damage-dealing pair in the meta. Moving next to our general, Jing Yuan. Compared to Daniel, the general has received quite a lot of support in past updates, and not small ones to boot. His first indirect buff came with the introduction of Xuan, which solved his problem of losing damage after being crowd-controlled through her team-wide CC immunity. He also received a follow-up partner, which significantly boosted his damage against a single target in Topaz and her light cone as well. He also received a dedicated relic set, which has become his best in slot and boosted his damage yet again. And just recently, he received another partner in crime in the form of Lunae, who became the best support for the Topaz Jing dual DPS team through her universal buffs. Finally, apart from the additional support received through newly released units and the addition of the follow-up relic set, he also received Pure Fiction, the new mode where he could put all of the shiny pieces to good use. Now, did all of these rise to the top of the meta? No, because unfortunately, even with all of these pieces, the main issues he has had from the start are not solved. His biggest issue is that the Lightning Lord is too slow, and as the Lightning Lord is the biggest portion of his damage, as the multiplier for his skill and ultimate are on the lower side, this drags his potential quite a lot. He is also a skill point negative unit. Being forced to use his skill each turn in order to stack up the Lightning Lord is also quite detrimental. He also suffers at the moment from the lack of a good F2P light cone compared to the other top meta units. And one of the glaring weaknesses he has is that the Lightning Lord damage is inconsistent and can go to the wrong enemy instead of the one you want to focus on. Furthermore, unfortunately, he competes with Kafka for the lightning damage dealer spot, which has just received her partner in crime with Black Xuan in the current patch. While also having access to more light cone alternatives than Jing Yuan, she also has front-loaded and back-loaded damage in her kit. So in conclusion for our general, if you are looking to kill your enemies with style, then he is the unit for the job, and with multiple supports introduced for him, if you can manage to put them all together, He will not disappoint, but his major flaws are still unresolved, and there are alternatives out there with fewer issues or less investment needed, with a potential new one just around the corner. Before we wrap up, I would like to mention that if you are looking for elemental coverage, you need to keep in mind before going for either Daniel or Jing that in 2.1, we are going to get an alternative for both of them with Acheron, a new lightning nihility unit just around the corner, which in my opinion looks like the second coming of Jing Liu, both in terms of hype and in strength, based on how she is portrayed by the developers in all the trailers so far. Followed by Aventurine as well, an imaginary preservation unit, who, if we take a look at the previous limited preservation unit released, we could, for all intents and purposes, experience a new shift at the top of the meta. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments which units you are going for, or if you plan on skipping. Until next time, I am Professor Veritas Ratio, and remember, stay smart and sexy.